Well everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Samsung Galaxy A55 and compare it against the iPhone 16 and see which particular phone is the better one for you. Now, the thing I will definitely tell you between both of these devices is that they're both very good phones. They're a little bit different when it comes down to how they're going to compare because there's some differences between them for sure. But the thought process is kind of the same between both. The A55 is a pretty budget mid-tier phone that Samsung makes. The iPhone 16 is an upper mid-tier phone that Apple makes. So two different prices, but I will still say there's a lot of overlap and some differences between them, which is interesting. If you want to pick up either one of these phones for the cheapest prices that I find, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both, the iPhone 16 on the front side is giving you a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. And it's a pretty good looking panel. I would say definitely a better panel than the front of the Galaxy A55 in some ways. Not every way, but in some ways. It's a brighter display. It's a good looking display as well, thin bezels around it. You're getting the dynamic island, which is a pretty big hole punch, but still it's okay, it has some functionality to it. And it looks pretty bright. It's 60 Hz though, which is kind of a big downside, but I do think it's still a good looking phone nonetheless, and it's definitely not an ugly phone when it comes down to it. With something like the Samsung Galaxy A55 though, this particular phone on the front side is giving you a 6.6-inch Super AMOLED display. So this particular panel is bigger than the iPhone 16's. It's a lower resolution a little bit. It's also lower brightness, but it's a 120 Hz display. So it's a little bit different here. It's definitely not the best type of technology for that type of panel. And it's half the brightness basically as the iPhone 16, but it is a 120 Hz display. So you're kind of getting some push and pull here. With the Galaxy A55, it is a hole punch display, so it's significantly less in your face. But I would still say on the front, the iPhone 16 is a better one. Although you're getting high refresh rate and all that stuff, I would still say the iPhone 16 is overall giving you the better looking display when it comes down to it on the front side. On the sides, they're both pretty much built almost the same way. They both have flat sides on them, which is always nice to have. You're also getting USB Type-C ports on the bottom of both of them, which again is a really, really nice thing to have here, which I love personally having. On the other side, you're getting the action button and camera button on the iPhone 16, which is super nice to have. The A55 doesn't have it. On the back side, you're basically getting a frosted glass back on the iPhone 16, which looks and feels very good. The Galaxy A55 is giving you the standard glass back, which is still very good, but I would definitely say if you're holding both in your hand, definitely a phone like the iPhone 16 is probably going to feel like a more expensive, more premium phone when it comes down to it, rather than the Galaxy A55. Again, you have to keep in mind the A55 is not supposed to be necessarily competing directly with the iPhone 16, but still the A55 is giving you things like a 120 Hz display, which is still really nice to have. So I do think from that side, that's kind of one big thing to keep in mind here. Now on top of that, another very big thing is the price tag. In the brand new market, the Samsung Galaxy A55 is an overall cheaper phone than the iPhone 16, but another big way to kind of think about it is that the A55 is also basically a cheaper phone in the used market than the iPhone 16 by a lot. Yeah, A55 right now is about a $300 phone in the used market. The iPhone 16 isn't really in the used market that much because it just came out, but it's an $800 phone. So when you're comparing those two, and even a year from now, the iPhone 16 probably won't even touch $600. So that's a pretty big thing to keep in mind here. The Galaxy A55 is definitely a cheaper phone, and it's going to get significantly cheaper as it gets older and older. The iPhones just don't really go down in price that much, although when the next iPhones come out, then the iPhone 16 will significantly go down in price. Now from a camera perspective, the iPhone 16 is giving you a dual camera setup, a 48 megapixel wide and then 12 megapixel ultra wide camera, where the Galaxy A55 is giving you a 50 megapixel wide angle lens, then a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. So what I will definitely tell you from a triple camera, dual camera setup perspective is that the only additional camera that you're getting on the A55 is a macro lens. And to be honest, the macro lenses aren't really the biggest deals in the world. I think if you're going to go through and compare the two, definitely with something like the Galaxy A55, it still is a very, very good, it's a good camera for the most part, but it's definitely not the best looking camera of all time. With that type of camera, you're getting some pretty basic stuff when it kind of comes down to it. It gives you 4K at 30 on the front and the back. That's kind of it. At least with the iPhone 16, you're getting 4K at 60 on the front and the back, which in my opinion is a really big difference. having 4K 60 in and of itself is a very big deal. And I definitely do think from that perspective, that's a really big asset for something like the Galaxy, for something like the iPhone 16. So between both, you're still getting like very similar type of experiences between both for the most part. They both give you photo, video capability, stuff like that. But I would definitely say when you're looking at both, something like the Samsung Galaxy A55 camera for its price tag isn't really that terrible. Like it's a good, performing camera, but the iPhone 16 is significantly better, and it's going to be the significantly better one in basically almost every single way you can kind of imagine. So from that side, I think that in and of itself is a really big thing to keep in mind there as well. Now on top of that, when it comes down to the software longevity, this is probably going to be a really big asset for something like the Samsung Galaxy, for something like the iPhone 16. The iPhone 16 has a higher likelihood, in my personal opinion, of lasting for a longer period of time than something like the Galaxy A55. The A55 is still going to be here for the most part. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. That phone literally just came out. But if you are going to want to get the phone that is going to be a longer lasting device, it definitely is going to be something like an iPhone 16. That one is going to be the one that's going to be the better one here for the most part. And that's the one that makes the most amount of sense for me whenever I'm going to go through and pick up a phone. That's the one that makes the most amount of sense in my personal opinion. So I would say from that personal situation, the Galaxy A55 is going to be, still a good phone, but the iPhone 16 is going to be better. But especially when it comes down to the whole entire other side, when it basically comes down to the battery life perspective, the iPhone 16 is giving you a 3,561 mAh battery. The Galaxy A55 is giving you a 5,000 mAh battery. This in and of itself as well is another very big asset for this type of phone. You are going to be getting a very, very long supported phone, and a long lasting phone for the most part, on the Samsung Galaxy A55. That's going to be a phone that is probably going to be the overall, better battery perspective one there too. So I think that in and of itself is another thing to keep in mind there as well. Now, when it comes down to the performance, this is another very big asset for the Samsung Galaxy and for the iPhones. These are two different kinds of things. So with the iPhone 16, it's giving you that Apple A18 chipset inside of it with 8GB of RAM, where the Galaxy A55 Exynos 1480 chipset with 6 or 12GB of RAM. That's a very big delta. For me, I got the 6GB RAM option, which was a good performing phone, right? It was good, it wasn't anything super crazy, and I do think that in and of itself is like a nice thing going on for this type of phone. However, with the iPhone 16, this is going to be a significantly better device in almost every single way you can imagine. This is something that I like about my Samsung Galaxy A55. This is something that I like about my iPhone 16. You can easily buy that phone, and it is going to be a long-lasting phone in pretty much every single way. So I do think this in and of itself is a very, very nice thing going on for that type of device. With the Galaxy A55, on the other hand, it's a good performing phone, but I definitely do think the iPhone 16 is going to be the way better one here for the most part. So to kind of sum up this whole entire video, what I'm definitely going to tell you is that in my personal opinion, if I'm going to go through and pick up a phone, I do think a phone like the Galaxy A55 is an okay device. It's not anything super crazy. It's definitely not the best performing device I've ever seen. But I think for the most part, if you're going to go through and get a device, it's totally good. It's okay for the most part. But I think the iPhone 16, without a doubt, is a way better device here. It's significantly better than the Galaxy A55. But if you want an Android phone that, is better than even both of these, you could look for something like the Galaxy S24 in the used market or a Galaxy S23 in the used market. The S23 is a very good phone, and it's better than the iPhone 16 in some ways, but it's cheaper than the iPhone 16 in the used market. So it's just one other phone, but like I said, all the other ones will be linked down in the description, and hopefully that kind of makes some sense to you guys. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that will mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.